While I was in Ohio, I had a pretty bad car wreck. Ripped the whole right side of my car and out. They said like 2 more inches to the right and I would have gone over the bridge because I had fallen asleep at the wheel after a night being out drinking. When I was in Ohio, I was around a lot of drugs. The guy that I was dating, it was just constant in and out of the apartment. I remember actually separating myself because at the time I was like, I'm still going to college and I was going to go to college for criminal justice. I didn't want to be anywhere near that because I still had dreams and hopes, of a future. Yeah. And so once the car wreck happened, I came back to Mississippi. That's when the female issue started happening along with the car wreck. Then I got busted with cocaine.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures. We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at, few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are because loved. We are loved.
My name is Katie, and this is my story. After 20 years of abusing lethal amounts of drugs and alcohol, in and out of jail and rehabs, and defying the odds, I gave God my life back in 2022, and I've been running after him ever since. Through full surrender, God has shown up in the most unimaginable ways possible. My hope is that everybody who is lost or feel they are unseen is found and set free.
Hey everybody, Paul from Jesus Loves Addicts, and as we tend to do, we like to let you know that you're about to embark on another 2-part episode, and so hang in there.
Hey there, and today on Jesus Loves Addicts, I have the exciting privilege of introducing one of my lifetime friends, Katie Foster Gerhardt. Katie truly has defied the world's statistics. She spent over 20 years in active addiction, and she lost nearly all. I would have to say that the only thing she really had left at the end was her life. Mm-hmm. Today, Katie's going to tell us how she has arrived at just over 3.5 years sober and serving Jesus every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do not have the privilege of knowing you, but just hearing that intro and your intro, the little 30-second teaser, you said, you put it this way, that you had 20 years of lethal amounts of drugs. I'm interested to see where that goes. But as I always say, our stories don't start there. Mm-hmm. We talk about where it begins in childhood and what did that look like. And I still think that's a really important part of the conversation, right? If nothing else, I think for the audience, it can dispel the myth for those who maybe are less familiar with this horrible illness, mm-hmm. That, you have to come from some horrible, background, and that's how you become an addict. That's not always the case. I don't know, maybe for you. But what's been interesting is we really see a mix of mm-hmm. good and horrible backgrounds. Mm-hmm. And so what did yours look like?
I want to say a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Actually, so I grew up, both parents were alcoholics, mother and father. And then my mother, she remarried to an alcoholic. So what 3 of us, which is me and my 2 brothers, ended up becoming 5 in a blended family. I was the youngest. There was a lot of physical abuse, a lot of emotional abuse.
Is that between your mom and dad, or?
That was mother and stepmother, yeah.
So y'all lived with them?
Yeah, I grew up living with them.
Sorry if I can ask, because I didn't
know that.
Was the violence between the parents, or was it also directed toward the kids?
Both.
Okay.
But I was not a recipient of that. I more along the list had gotten the to sit back and watch it. So from my not actually having it done or the abuse happened to me. It was more along the lines of I grew up with a lot of survivor's guilt, I guess, is what God is finally now kind of being able to put a name to it, of watching and seeing it all happen and unfold in my eyes.
To your siblings.
To my siblings and my mother, yeah. And from my mother to my stepfather. So, yeah, it was just kind of all around chaos. But that was in that home. But then you would switch over to my father's home, where he was battling alcoholism for a little bit. I think he stopped drinking in the year of '89, so I was probably around 8 years old, I think, when he stopped drinking. So the latter part of me growing up, we all kind of eventually, my brothers and I kind of ended up slowly going back into my father's home. Whereas to my father's side of the family and everything, they were very into going to church and
completely different than what you had.
Right. So I'd go from chaos to calm in a sense, right? So we kind of do both sides of that. But I also felt almost like I had to stay around, almost like because I had to protect my mom. That was...
Well, when you talked about the violence towards others in the home, you paused, and there was obviously still a strong feeling for you. So it's interesting because you're very young, right? I'm assuming we're in that 5 to 8 year old, 9-year-old range somewhere, right? Dad gets sober at 8. You feel like you need to protect her, but that age...
What can you do?
You're right. I mean, you can't do that. So that must have been a difficult. How do how does that play out? I want to do something, but clearly the ability isn't there. This is an adult man.
Well, fear pretty much took over. It was, I guess I didn't realize all this until I became sober. I've always known I had that childhood and have known I walked through those certain things of not necessarily having a childhood for so many years, because I kind of was put in that position of, let me put Band-Aids on mom. Let me help my brothers or my sisters, like that was the mentality I felt like I needed to be a source of strength, and that wasn't
on you.
That wasn't on me. That wasn't the way it was supposed to go. And this is, of course, I know that y'all have these talks a lot, but of no fault of my mother's or my stepfather's. They had their own wounding. They went through their own walks. Just unfortunately, it wasn't with Christ.
Yeah. Did Dad's sobriety come through that path, though? Because you said his family sounds like they were rooted in Christian beliefs. Did your dad's sobriety come through a faith-based approach, or?
No. My father's sobriety actually came from, I don't remember if I was actually visiting him at this time or already living with him, because eventually we all ended up moving back in with my father, the three of us. But it was... I don't know. He tells the story is that I climbed up into his lap and I looked at him and said, "Daddy, you hadn't had your scotch?" Or I think I said, "Your whiskey in a couple of days. What's going on?" Because, that was my norm, was to watch him drink. So when it was no longer happening, and that was kind of the end of it. So he didn't go through a recovery situation. He went through some AA, I think.
Yeah.
Of course, I was so young, and unfortunately, due to a lot of the traumatic experiences that I grew up with, don't really remember a lot of that. But
selective memory.
Yeah, selective memory, exactly.
So you said you guys kind of shifted over into Dad's house, but there was this, you wanted to stay kind of with Mom to be a protector. Were you the last to migrate over?
Yes.
Were you? And was that just because it just got so bad, couldn't justify staying?
It finally got to that, because I would keep going back, yes.
But your brothers were living with your dad?
Correct. Yep, they were already with Dad. It got to the point where my dad was like, "Okay,
you're coming with
You're
us.
coming, yeah.
That's why I was going to ask, did he ever have to intervene? Because clearly he knew that there was some major issues.
I'm sure there was, and of course, after Dad passed, a lot more was kind of revealed as to
How he got y'all?
and the trauma and the pain he went through, knowing and yeah.
There's some similarity between you and he that way, because you're going through similar pain of having witnessed it and knowing it. So he has this kind of father survival guilt. You have older sibling survivor guilt. Were you the oldest?
No, I'm
The
just- yeah,
baby.
I was the baby.
The baby. Interesting. Okay.
And the only girl.
And the only, right. Yeah.
So it kind of took on that mother role.
That's a very, that's a great words to put. Yeah. And that was a name that I used to get teased with a lot was being the den mother.
Teased by your siblings?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even, my parents, not my dad, but my mother, my stepfather, because I was just always very observant. I know now, knowing what I know, where all the fear and all those certain traumas led to certain things coming in. It's shocking to know how anybody could have ever, walked out of that.
Is your mom still living?
No.
Did she die in her addiction?
Yes.
She did? How old were you when that happened? I know we're jumping around, but I'm just curious.
Oh, you're fine. So I was already married.
Okay. So you were an adult.
I was an
when she
adult.
passed. Okay.
Yeah. I was in my 20s. I want to say later 20s. It's when she passed away. Yep. And it came out of the blue. It was a shock. And so that's why I think her death was hit a lot differently, of course, because I was still in my own addiction at that time. So her death hit a lot differently
Then your dad's did.
than my dad's did, for
years
sure.
later.
Yeah.
So you've moved to go back. You've moved in. You're now the last one to move in with your dad. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? Because now he's not drinking.
Well, Dad had to be dad and mom, and he had to be a coach. He had to be a father. He had to be
Provider.
The three of us. The stories that were told were there was a lot of time spent trying to reverse. He would tell me stories of because moving in with he and my brothers, we kind of all just fit into a smaller apartment, and it just was what it was at that time. And so I stayed in the room with my father, and there'd be times where loud noises or something like that would hit outside, or real loud noises of lightning. Yeah. And I would just wake up in the middle of the night. I don't remember this, but I'd wake up screaming, terrified, because of those. Because
you were associating those loud noises with past trauma?
Correct. With the fighting and door slamming or whatnot from being younger.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you said that your dad had to be mom and dad. Does that mean that once you were there, were you able to kind of give up some of that mom role, or is that a role you kind of maintained anyway?
I think I maintained that role until my mom actually passed.
Yeah.
Or at least the idea of that role.
Right.
That I was still responsible.
I mean, every phone call, I just remember throughout the years, any phone conversation I had, I was always very careful what I said or let be heard, because I was worried about what was going to happen on the other side of that phone call or when that phone was hung up. So there was always a fear there of something happening and me not being able to be there to fix it or to protect.
Well, it's so sad because as a child, there is just this constant level of tension in your life, right? There's never, I don't hear a moment where you're feeling comfortable to just exhale. Like, I don't feel you ever feeling safe, even though that may have been true in your dad's home. You're still maintaining the mother role.
You still can't take. You're right. Still can't take a deep breath.
Yeah, and conversations with your mom, you can't just be a child and that's it. It's you hang up and you're concerned what's happening with her now. I mean, wow, what a heavy, heavy load.
When you talk to your mom on the phone, if you remember, did it feel like she was okay with you playing that role? Does that make sense? Like, did she talk more to you like a friend or an adult than she should have at your, like, was it age appropriate conversations? Am I putting that right?
Yeah. I think I get what you're saying. That's a good question.
Well, I do know
I've
that
ever really explored that. It was. I get what you're asking.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a span though, and I guess this will maybe help understand a little bit. There was a span of years where my mother didn't even see me. So, I mean,
Or talk?
I don't think talk either. No,
Okay.
yes, because I remember sitting at my oldest stepsister's house. She was actually the sixth out of, and my mom coming there, and it had been a few years since I'd seen her. She walked in the door and didn't even recognize me.
Wow.
So there was links of time there. There was no conversation, and that wasn't like us being kept from it. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
It was just what the reasons were. I don't know.
Yeah.
When did
Well,
those?
self-indulgent lifestyle. Yeah. I mean,
Well, was that when you were in addiction?
No.
Or before? Okay, that's what I was. When did those gaps of time start? Like, how old do you think you were?
I want to say it was probably a couple of years after I came out of the home. Like there was time. I can't really put my
Yeah.
finger on that.
But it is sad because you're speaking to something a former guest once said in their own admission, right? They were a parent and they were admitting that in their addiction, although they wanted to care for their children, they
just
couldn't. It
couldn't.
just wasn't there, right? They just cared. And so that sounds like your mom was steeped in that. Did she stay with your stepfather? Or just kind of, did they stay until she was passed? Really? And is he still alive, or is he?
No,
did he also die in active addiction? So they took it to the grave.
Yep.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
So, Gosh, my questions all jump ahead because this is such a traumatic childhood, right? You said a little bit of both. I'm not saying where's the happy side of your childhood? Where's the other side of that? Because you said it's a little of both. What?
I think perspective.
Yeah.
Because I remember. Well, I was about to say I remember playing soccer, but those were kind of traumatic experiences too.
In a different way.
In a different way, yeah. What do they call them? Parents on the sidelines type situation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But no, I remember, the happy times going to my father's and being around my grandmother's and the Christmases we would have where the whole family would get together. And I would have to say those were kind of the moments where the absence of the time with mom,
So life with dad was pretty good. It's just that for you as an individual, there was always this underlying beyond your years motherly concern for the rest of the family. That's just something that you carried with you throughout that. Is that fair to say?
Well, it was more for my mother. Yeah, because you didn't
have to care for your dad.
We were already out of the house.
Yeah.
Well, my brothers, we were already out of the house at my dad's, and
I gotcha.
So more that my sister, she was the last one in the house. So there was, if I remember correctly, of how long. I'm not sure how long she stayed, but eventually we were all out of the house, and it was only my mother and my stepfather there. So yeah, as far as me and my brother is concerned, that I think at that point it was just kind of in my, the only way I can say it, like in my blood, like I just became, that figure. But as far as being concerned on a day-to-day basis, knowing that none of us were in the house anymore, that settled some of that, but it was still very active for,
In those years that you had no communication with mom, do you recall still being concerned, like what about mom, or did you just was out of sight, out of mind at that age?
I don't really remember.
Yeah, probably hard to say.
I was going to ask, was that just for you, or did your brothers talk to her, or was it no contact at all and they didn't either?
I'm sure we still talked to her. I'm sure there was still contact. I just don't know to what extent.
Yeah. Okay.
As far as
yeah.
So another question, kind of in addressing this relationship with your mom, right? I know we're going to come circling back to childhood, but I'm curious in this sense because you said when she died, you were still in your active addiction.
Well, it was yes.
Did you attend her funeral? Was there any closure there, or did you?
There was no funeral. It was pretty much a phone call, and then we kind of went to work cleaning out the house that she was staying at, and we more along the lines over at my aunt and uncle's house here in town. We went over and had a celebration of life for her.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
So there was some closure activity that you did, though. You participated in that.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were all there. Yeah. And possibly as my story goes on, you'll see there was plenty of time. It was only younger years where there was a gap of me not communicating with my mother. When my son was born, my mother was there. When my brother's children, they were all born, my mother was there. So she was an active part of our lives, When I went to jail, she was there, she was there through a lot of that. Yeah. So the communication that stopped there for a couple of years, I don't know why or can answer that, but it did start back, and there was plenty of communication, and she was as active as she could be.
Sure. In the
as
state
a role,
she was.
As a part of our lives. Yeah.
And y'all didn't live close. There were always there were states. When you lived with your dad, your mom lived in another state. Is that correct? Is that right?
Well, depending on where we lived at the time, I guess.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, y'all moved a lot.
Yeah, because Dad's job.
Okay.
He worked at the mill, so.
So we'll rein it back into childhood here. Sorry, but so you're living with Dad. His family has some faith components to it. Mm-hmm. Do you get exposed to that at all there, or is that yet to come?
Oh, no, we were exposed to it.
In a favorable way or an unfavorable way?
Well, I mean, talking in these days, yeah. No, we grew up going to church. We were baptized. I think I was baptized. I don't know.
Okay, so the seeds are planted here in the youth. Okay, that's what I was kind of curious about. So, so again, my mind goes to this concept of you kind of growing up very quickly, right? Mm-hmm. Just as a young girl, kind of jumping into that mother role. There had to be some motion. So I'm really very curious to know how you enter your own addiction, because I would assume prior to that, there had to be some self-talk that I am never going to be like my mom. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, yeah.
And then one day we wake up and
we're just like mom.
Isn't that funny how that happens? It's just, it's a repetitious theme that we hear. But so how did that happen for you?
Well, it probably really started because I, of course, vowed I was never going to drink. I was never going to be like mom.
Yeah.
Never allow myself to be put in that position or that situation of abuse ever. So I want to say, and this is why I guess I don't contribute a lot of it to my childhood, because I was old enough to know better when I started drinking. I was, well, I guess you'd say old enough, but I was around 17 years old when I really started drinking. I didn't drink through most of my high school years. It wasn't until my last year in high school that I actually started picking up the bottle, and at that point it was more recreational. It was fun, and I was living back at my mother's at the time. So
that's interesting,
right? So where I lived with Dad for all those years, my 11th grade year in high school, I ended up leaving where we were living in Tennessee and moved back in.
What brought that about? How did you? What made that a good idea?
What, dropping out of high school?
No, moving back to mom's.
Moving to your mom's.
Oh, well, there's a lot of bullying and stuff that started happening my junior year in high school, or the summer into my senior year, I guess you could say.
You were being bullied?
Yep, a bad breakup with a guy, and he was
the ringleader of the bullying?
That's what it kind of ended up, I think, playing out to be. So it was that first real moment of fight or flight for me, and I didn't stick around to fight. So my only defense mechanism was like, "Whoa, I'm out."
Well, and if you were a senior or fixing to be a senior, then both your brothers were gone, so it was really just you and your dad.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was this relationship you were in that ended so badly? Was he using or drinking? Is there
no? I was
just a angry guy, or what was the nature of that relationship?
It was first love situation, and then been with him for half my high school career. We broke up, and then it was like my name kind of just got slandered because I had lost my virginity to him, and so I was just slandered all over the place, being called all kinds of. Right. And of course, I didn't even know how to handle that, and that was also where a lot of medical issues started to come in too, which is also part of a lot of my addiction. Started happening, and so the only other alternative was to go move back to Mississippi and live with my mom so I could finish high school. Because I did want to finish high school.
Yeah. So I may be digging where there's nothing to be found, but I just want to, just before we completely move beyond it, I'm just curious, because coming from such dysfunction, I'm wondering what this first love relationship looked like. Like, did it end just because I'm done and I'm actually stepping away from something that might have been good, which something we can do, and all we're used to is chaos. We tend to sabotage what's good. Or was this a dysfunctional relationship that was just had reached its end? Like what?
No, it was a fine relationship. Everything's on my part. Everything just seemed to be going great. So it was a shock to me that it had ended.
I thought you ended it. Oh, he ended it.
He ended it. Yeah. And so here I am. I just lost my virginity situation, and then. That's pulled out. The rug's kind of pulled out, and I was like, wait, where did that come from?
Well, if that's your first love, first real relationship that was serious, it kind of does feel like being a teenager's hard anyway, but it feels like your whole world has ended.
Yeah.
Correct.
How long was that relationship?
2 years.
2 years, yeah. It'd be interesting to go back, with the knowledge you have now, and to see if you saw any red flags. It could have been,
You're right,
it could have been wonderful and something,
Right?
but in all, I would be willing to bet that this was an emotionally unavailable guy who was just living his high school years out and probably felt the way you did at times, but never really had that commitment level you did. I would be willing to bet.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Never
matter
know.
if that's true or false, but
I think you just described my first high school boyfriend.
yeah, it tends to happen because when you don't know what to look for,
Right.
you tend to find the emotionally unavailable ones, right? Because they're the exciting. There's something.
Well, and I wasn't a big dater. I mean,
Yeah.
My dad, of course.
Yeah.
He was. Just the way that I was raised was like, you're not going to date till you're this age. You don't go ride in the car with boys.
Yeah.
Nobody's allowed in the house while I'm not home type situation. So when I was with my father, that was
Pretty strict.
We were strict and sheltered. I mean, I don't want to say sheltered because my brothers and I, we had
We're
some
not
fun.
sheltered.
We
Yeah.
were not sheltered, right? But so yeah.
Now you mentioned you lost your virginity to him a couple of times. So at the breakup, was this a shameful thing for you? Did
Correct.
you started to
That's where shame in it.
walk into shame? Okay.
And because I didn't have any type of foundation
Yeah.
or any rock to stand on at that point,
Yeah.
it was exactly like the Bible says. I had just sunk. And all I knew to do was to run and to hide, just
Yeah.
like, Adam and Eve. So I did, or at least I thought I did. And that was an open door because then the drinking started and then.
So this was the catalyst to you starting to drink because you run home to mom, a different home.
Correct. Where they're readily available alcohol.
And she didn't care if you drank.
She did not care if I drank.
And they
She bought it
practiced
for me.
right, and they practiced that kind of response to hardship, right? If they drank it away, so you're going into this thing, you decide you're going to drink it away.
I don't know when it was, but I will say I knew there were not rules. I didn't think it was in Mississippi. I thought for some reason it was in Florida. I feel like around 14 or 15, no, maybe 13. I don't know. We went to, we actually stayed with her mom for a weekend, and we were allowed to smoke cigarettes. So I thought that was super cool.
Is that when we were? It could have been when we were in Florida.
Yes. Okay. So I knew
Yeah, we were
Florida
the
was involved, and your sister actually taught me to inhale cigarettes, and I was real excited about that. I wanted to go back because
Well, that was actually my first time ever smoking weed. Was back in those days.
So we were allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you guys this has really been a lifelong friendship. Oh, wow.
Well, she moved a lot though.
Yeah.
So it was like,
So,
oh,
yeah,
here she is. Oh, and she's gone.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do remember that I knew then it was weird to me.
Well, you grew up Catholic.
Yeah, I did.
You what?
I grew up Catholic.
Oh, yeah.
There's
sure.
a lot
Remember
more
those
rules.
church trips?
So, yeah. Talk about shame.
Well, Mom made us bring everybody to church with us. So if you stayed at our house, you were coming to Mass.
Yep, we were going to Mass the next morning.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so we didn't have rules that weekend. That was super weird to me. But it was like, are you sure? Yeah, no, my mom doesn't care. We can smoke. And I'm like, okay. So, yeah.
Yeah. So your environment, from dad's house to her house, right? There's boundaries to no boundaries. But what's the medical that enters? I'm asking because you said it's pertinent to your addiction, right? And so you said the medical stuff starts entering at about the same time.
So about 17. So as a young kid, I always remembered being told, that I was going to die at the age of 20 because if I ever started smoking, because I was born with underdeveloped lungs, which caused really bad asthma, and I had chronic asthma as a kid. And so I guess now looking back, it came no surprise that I actually did die, just a spiritual death before I was 20. But yeah, so drinking came into play. But it got worse with the medical issues because they started finding cancerous cells. And so I started to have a lot of female issues and female surgeries. And
at what age? Like on the heels of high school?
Yep. So it was, I want to say, I graduated early because coming from 2 different states, 2 different requirements as far as being able to graduate. Yeah. And so I ended up graduating early. And then immediately, as soon as I graduated, a couple months later, I totally left the South. I got as far away from my mom and that situation as possible. And then when I came back, so I want to say I was still 18, maybe right around 19, when they started to find these issues. And I started having procedures done kind of back to back. Yeah.
Is that when pain meds came in?
Nope. Coke entered first. Cocaine. But that was recreational. So everything at this point is recreational. I'm drinking,
Did you take to it pretty quickly? I mean, like when you first tried alcohol, did it go from 0 to, 60 in 2.5 or like what?
When I would drink, yes. But as far as an addiction, no. It never stuck. Does that make sense? I smoked weed, but I was never a big weed smoker. Still can't stand the smell of weed. Like it was never my thing. Now when I did start cocaine, right around that age, that was yours. That was 0 to 100 pretty quick. And so, yeah. Yep, and then
did mom or stepdad introduce you to any of those things, or this was all friends, but just in a loose environment? Okay.
Yeah.
So cocaine comes in. You're working on some medical stuff. Kathryn just mentioned pain medication, so I'm assuming that's going to be a medical introduction at some point.
Yep. So while I was in Ohio, in between. And it kind of happens all concurrent with one another. While I was in Ohio, I had a pretty bad car wreck. Ripped the whole right side of my car and out. They said like 2 more inches to the right, and I would have gone over the bridge because I had fallen asleep at the wheel after a night being out drinking. When I was in Ohio, I was around a lot of drugs. The people I was dating, or the guy that I was dating. It was just constant in and out of the apartment. I remember actually separating myself because at the time I was like, I'm still going to college, and I was going to go to college for criminal justice. I didn't want to be anywhere near that because I still had dreams and hopes, of a future. Yeah. And so once the car wreck happened, I came back to Mississippi. That's when the female issue started happening along with the car wreck. Well, I was doing coke, so nothing was really rearing its head yet. Then I got busted with cocaine. And so that kind of stopped that for a while.
Busted as in arrested or by your family?
Well, arrested, so therefore the family found out. My mom did, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Yeah, she knew. But then I quickly was, and I don't know if that was the catalyst for why I ended up moving back to Dad's really quick. But when I moved back down to Dad's, down here to the coast, that's when the medical issues were at a heightened. Pain management was able to come into play at that point because the car wreck, the issues with my back and my neck started to come to play. I was having back surgeries.
I would imagine you could get pretty much anything you wanted with refills.
Yes. Back then it was like, yeah. And I mean, I would, because I started going to the pain management doctors, and I was getting whatever I kind of wanted.
Yeah.
But the problem with that, and the problem with the mentality I had was I was 0 to 100 with all of it.
Yeah.
Like there was no like take one here and there. Like I got my bottle of 90 to 120 and it was gone in a week.
Yeah.
And it was all, by me. It wasn't like I was giving these away.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And people,
you weren't selling them. You were using them.
Correct. And
did you have supplemental means of getting them? Were there providers outside the medical field that you started to?
Yeah. I started doctor shopping.
Yeah.
And back then you could.
And what about just street dealers?
Not at that. Well,
not at that point.
It led to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember working over at the casinos to pay for my habit. What I couldn't get at the doctor. Well, then, of course, it started becoming readily. I started noticing more and more people that I could probably get them from, and so I would start buying them.
They definitely, you tend to find each other.
Sure.
Oh yeah, out of 1,000, out of a crowd of 1,000, I could pick out every one of you. Yeah.
Well, and even sometimes, and I don't know if this was true for you, but sometimes patients of pain management form circles where they're supplementing people throughout, and so.
Or they volunteer, they have a new doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, and we are actually, I guess here in the last couple of months, we've talked to more and more. It's like, it's that doctor shopping, and it was a different time.
Yeah. It's like a small community, but not small community.
Yeah.
Like, who, and a lot of dialysis patients, well, they were getting the good stuff. So what they thought.
Yeah.
And that's where it led.
To?
Well, because I started buying them on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
Led to Lord Tabs and Percocet.
Yeah. Led
to Oxys, which led to now a shooting dope.
So you did end up shooting.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today. So let me ask you a question, because some of this is a transformation of personality too, right? We begin to transform that aspect of us. On the heels of your first love, there's some shame because you lost your virginity. I'm curious now, as you dive headlong into this lifestyle, is promiscuity now part of the lifestyle? Has that become, because oftentimes you'll see that, right? We'll move from a place of shame to a place of, rather than corrective action, I don't know, it's almost, we dive headlong into it to
hide, I think, but also I think that I can avoid it.
Yeah. Did that ever become a part of your journey, or was
it really didn't?
Okay.
And and honestly, there were so many female issues going on.
Yeah.
And right around the same time right before the pain management and all that, I'd been deemed to never be able to have children.
Yeah.
And if I ever did get pregnant, I would never be able to hold, be able to carry a pregnancy that full term. So that was kind of like, I was told at almost 19 years old, I would never have kids. So it was like, what's the point of any of it?
What about the quality of the relationships you're getting into? Are these
not healthy?
Not.
Early on in my pill day, because there's a couple different stages of my pill usage. But early on in those pill days, no. I would date every once in a while, but I was more worried about where I was going to get my pills and trying to stay unsick or without withdrawals than
Right. So did the dating
care about somebody else?
Did the dating pool, although it wasn't a lot, I hear what you're saying, but did the dating pool come from the group of people who could supply you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was curious about. Did your brothers follow this path as well?
That's more their story to tell. But
sure.
They, we all drank.
So everybody dabbled, if not more. Okay, yeah, I know you don't want to tell that story. I was just curious because, you're all coming from that background.
Right, yeah.
I didn't know if there was one, sometimes you'll hear one person actually manages to go a different direction, right? We just spoke to somebody that way. But so, okay. So
no, we were all three riddled with our own
battles.
Battles, correct.
Okay. So where does this take you? You're buying on the street. Do you ever resort to selling? Is that something that do you start doing that, or are you finding a means other ways?
At that point in time, no. Me starting to shoot up only lasted probably about 6 months. And then dreadful day came to where we lost a friend.
Overdose.
I was actually late to his funeral because I couldn't find a vein. And I remember how he had passed. I'm jumping a little bit forward, but it scared me. So let me reverse back a little bit. So I ended up having to come clean to my dad. I sat in the doctor's office and ended up, and I'll never forget the look on his face.
When you told him?
When I told him that not only was I abusing, and, because he had no idea at this point, but, I mean, you go straight from, I'm using the needle, Dad. I mean, the shock and awe that came with that was incredible. So he immediately started going to Al-Anon. His grips got way tighter on me. My manipulation and my skills of how do I get out of this became a lot more developed quickly. But
I also want to say, I think that any parent, from many I've talked to, and in my own, any parent that once struggled with substances, alcohol or otherwise, and that they get sober, then to find out their child is also battling that same thing. As that parent that faced that conversation, it's like, oh, this is me. I missed something. And I don't doubt that he probably had that same thought. Because that's that. If I wish I should, guilt and I wish I would have. Did I miss this? Why did I let So,
well, I think I'd already had my first DUI at that point. So me drinking was, I think it was to the level I took it to with the actual me shooting up.
Telling him.
Yeah. So I think he knew that there had been, obviously, because I drank, but going to that level was a whole nother. He immediately started doing the Al-Anon, but I mean, as much as I love my father was one of my biggest enablers.
Yeah, oh sure, yeah.
Our stories run very parallel with each other in that I was the youngest, I was the only girl. I didn't have to do much for my dad to give me the world, or to think he was giving me the world, or to try to, and especially coming up from the childhood we had. I'm sure there was a lot of whatever. I mean, I know I've had it. What can I do to make amends?
Guilt, parent, and
parenting.
That way that we weaponize the love they have for us. And in our addiction, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I used it to my advantage. I mean, I can sit here today and admit that, thankfully, I manipulated it to and that's what led to better manipulation skills out on the streets and throughout the 20 years of me being addicted.
Yeah.
I think he realized he became an enabler, and so it went from one extreme to the next. Here I am going to enable you, but then all of a sudden it was like, I'm totally cutting you off. We're going to
I think that would have been around the time. So the way our lives intersected, it was when we were children, she would move. But the way we grew up is just super special to me, is that you don't lose contact. Well, then when our friend John died in 2003, I do believe that's around the time that brought us back. Now we're both using. So we actually used together we used our dads against themselves, basically. Like, I would talk to her dad, and he would be like, okay, well, as long as she's with you, okay, maybe she's okay. I'll send her some money, but you're in charge of it, and same. And so the Lord kind of kept us, like, we were only around each other, actively using together the Oxycontin, maybe 6 months out of the entire time. And then literal decades before we saw each other.
Again. Yeah.
In Escambia County Jail.
I was going to say,
she had gotten arrested, and I was in there, and I looked, because I'm in Florida. She was now in Florida, but we were from Mississippi, and I looked through the glass, and I know we're way ahead, but I went, it was so weird. And I was like, Katie? And she was like, hey. And I was like, fancy meeting you here. Like, this. So I do think that if we had been, but it is,
it
is. And I just think that the Lord knew that you can truly love somebody. We weren't good for each other. And I don't think if we had been around each other, either one of us would be sitting here, because we weren't good for each other, but there was no limits.
Yeah.
So that was around 2003. So you did, at some point you got married and never really stopped using though.
Well, no, Dad started sending me to rehab after rehab. And that started my journey of rehab. And
so your addiction at this point is just taken off, really.
Correct.
Yeah, wow. And you're already starting the rehab journeys.
Yeah. So Dad sent me to, sent me up to Vicksburg to a rehab. As soon as I found out I was able to sign myself out, I was gone. Went up to Tennessee, and that was my first time ever using meth. I didn't know I was. Wasn't a fan. Came back down to the coast, and I think I went to another rehab. We followed each other almost. I went to the same, went to Hattiesburg to rehab. But I remember in that, at one point, I came out of rehab and I went over, even just to, my dad was just trying to get me away from the coast and out of Mississippi. I was staying over in Louisiana, and I had, and this what brings me back to John, is because I'd found a way. The person that had shown me how to shoot up oxys in the first place got in contact with him and was going to bring me some pills. And so I was sitting there literally looking at the pills and so scared, because that's all it took for John to OD. Like, he was totally fine.
He was going to use one more time.
It was one time, and that's what took his life. It was just that one time. And so I sat there, and I remembered so scared to do those pills, because that was the image I had. I was like, I'm going to do this. And I had to become okay with that. And obviously I did, because I started using again, which led me up to the rehab in Hattiesburg. So that was my second rehab.
You'd become okay with what? Were you?
If I shot that pill, and if that's what led me to die.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. So were you kind of, maybe not overtly, but maybe somewhat covertly suicidal at this point? Were you not caring if you lived or died? Is there?
No, it was just one of those moments of I wanted the drugs worse than I wanted.
Just, well, okay.
Than the fear.
Yeah.
Than the fear of the living.
Wow.
Or, the fear of dying, yeah.
Yeah. And so this was after he moved you to Louisiana. So okay.
Yeah. And that stunt, basically.
Yeah.
How my dad found out things, he went to the grave with that, because he found stuff out. Like, I had her bring me, stuff when I was basically kind of on house arrest, my father's house arrest, and couldn't leave the house. He had taken my truck keys, had locked me into the house, and I was like, you don't leave this house, or I will know about it. And I always knew that my dad could always find everything out, right? And sure enough, she had brought me drugs to the house. And this was just like, for me to sit here and say that I took it that far and defiled my, that's, I don't.
Defiled him.
Well, you're doing
it's insane to me, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing what every addict does, right? I mean, the addiction makes you act out of your character, right? It's not who you are. I mean, it really is. I think I've said this before, but I mean, the spiritual community talks about possession as a great theme to scary movies and things like that, there is a real sense to it. And I think addiction is probably one of those things where we really get to see it's not just the substance. I mean, it really does take over, doesn't it? I mean, you become and act like somebody that completely betrays
every moral, everything that you said you would never do. And in thinking about our loved ones, we've said this, that in addiction recovery, you hear that we take our loved ones hostage. We also turn them into, I'm not being funny, like FBI task force agents. Sure. They're learning how to search phones. They're learning how to break into things that they wouldn't have. We do more than just take them hostage. We turn them into something else because they're trying so hard to save us. If we can just save her, we'll be okay.
Yeah, the other side of the illness, right?
Yeah, right.
So
the mess we have to clean up afterwards.
Yeah. So your addiction really has moved, because we're still at just the beginning. And so it moved very quickly from just some drinks in high school to pretty much everything. And you're only about how old now in your story?
24, 25.
Oh, no. No, because I was married at 24.
So not even. You're not 22, even. I'm still 23.
I'm still in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably right at 20.
Yeah. And no real sense of wanting anything different at this point. Like when your dad is sending you to treatments, it's not because you want to go. Would that be fair to say?
Oh, no, I got kicked out.
Yeah. So you're still very much not yet in tune with this is not a good thing. Yeah. This is still your superpower, right?
Right. Yeah. I like that. I don't, but superpower. Yeah. Because when I went to the rehab in Hattiesburg, that's kind of where the next level of drugs came in. That's where I learned how to do crack cocaine from rehab.
Yeah.
So my faith in rehab was totally gone. The faith in NA and NA was totally gone because the people that were at one point trying to speak into my life, sobriety, we're now doing, drugs with and selling drugs too. And so that became
so you've switched from opiates to smoking crack now.
Right. But I was still sober because I was not on opiates, right?
Sober in your head. Yeah, right. And right. Just a quick note on what you just said, because I don't want to forget. It's such an important piece of this. There are no safe havens, right? This side of heaven, there are no safe havens. Rehab is not a safe haven. AA and NA is not a safe haven. Celebrate Recovery is not a safe haven. I often tell clients, no matter where you go, you'll find what you're looking for, right? I mean, if you want to find a drinking buddy, you're just as likely to find them at AA as you will find real sobriety. If you're looking, the beauty of these places is not that they're safe haven, but if you are truly looking for the right thing, you'll find it. Right. But if you're truly looking for the wrong thing, you'll find it.
Very well said. Yeah.
So that's kind of where you're at here. You're looking for the wrong thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and finding it. So here we go. We're launching from another rehab, and where do we go?
Started smoking crack cocaine, and that was, that's a whole nother devil in itself. That's just that's a whole nother playing field. When I talk about drugs, it's like, I don't know. I guess that's because that ended up being my final demise in a sense. So started using crack cocaine. The relationships got way more abusive. So that's where that comes in. And okay with it, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's where physical abuse entered, sexual abuse entered, those types of things. At this point, I'm too drugged up to even care. Yeah. And because I'd already been told I wasn't going to have kids, there was a whole nother level of not care. Also,
I think that's probably a truer way to describe that than saying I was okay with it, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you were, but I would say it's less being okay with it and more just getting to a place where I don't care.
Yeah.
That'd be fair to say.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. So that was part one. We're glad you've been tuned in. Please leave us a comment. Again, you can leave it on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, or you can hop on over to JesusLovesAddicts.com and leave us comments there. And we'd love to hear your story.